Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. My name is Kiki, my pronouns are she, her, and today we have a really special episode and a conversation that promises to be very interesting, but I have company here. I'm here today with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Martha, my pronouns are she, her.
And we have a special guest all the way from Canada. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Brittney Slayes, the vocalist for Unleash the Archers, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. You are about to release an album, a very special album, and well, today we are recording this on April 30th, which means it's only 10 days until it'll be out. Mm-hmm. Are you super excited about it?
Yes, we're very excited. Yeah, we've been working on this one since like early 2021, so it's been a really long time coming. The process has just been a long one. So it's crazy to think that it's finally here though, and there's like so much going on that I know that it's going to like come and go, and I'm just going to be like, oh, right, the record's out. Oops.
Right. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the inspiration, the start of the album? Because it's also a concept album, right?
It is, yes. Yeah, so like I said, we started writing it in like early 2021 because we had a bunch of tours that were booked in 2020, which of course got pushed. And then we were hoping that they were going to happen again in early 2021. But of course, the world was still broken. So they got pushed again. And we were kind of like, hey, well, what do we do here? You know, we don't have anything to do. So let's start writing the next record. And I had an idea kind of floating around from before. So I just pitched it to the boys quickly, you know, kind of a one paragraph synopsis of Phantoma and her story. You know, she's sentient AI. She is trying to escape kind of the bonds that she's being held in by humankind because she runs this warehouse basically, stuck in a computer, I guess you could say. It was kind of a pretty dark time, of course, when we were writing the record, and humanity was very separated from one another. We were all, you know, not trapped in our homes, but kind of, and we were all just living our lives on the internet. And so the story is very much kind of inspired by that, only just like to the maximum. So in the story, Phantoma the world is destroyed by climate change. The air is no longer breathable. Humans live in these beautiful glass biomes that protect them, but they also separate them from, you know, so humans still are all over the world, but they're, you know, locked away inside of these domes, and they all kind of live their lives on the Netaverse. And Phantoma sees humankind through this filtered lens, I suppose you could say, of social media, similar to that on the Netaverse, and becomes sentient and is like modeling herself after this ideal humankind that she sees on the internet. And it just felt like at the time in the pandemic, there was so much the kind of fakeness, and it continued, of course, and it still is out there. And I just kind of had this theme that I wanted to sing about in a way that's veiled by science fiction and kind of not being too literal about it, still telling this kind of epic hero's journey kind of story, but also talking about the pitfalls of believing everything that you see on social media and thinking that it's real and that what people are putting out there in the world is 100% real, when it's really not. You know, not everyone. There are still absolutely people out there that are themselves and are not afraid to be regular humans on the internet, but there are those that just kind of put a false front. And so Phantoma discovers that the humankind that she thought that she loved is not really the humankind that is actually out there. And so that's kind of the main underlying theme of the record.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. From the impression that I have had so far from the first singles and how much it's been talked about that the album was made about and with the use of artificial intelligence, that has been like the most present kind of topic around it. But now that you tell the story, it has everything. It has the storytelling that us humans connect to, especially in the style of music that Unleash the Archers makes. The whole heroic journey is very power metal in essence.
It is, yeah. Yep, for sure.
And also, there's this whole existential crisis from the main character in the story, but also that is so relatable. That is something so relatable that we see every day, and even a bit of social critique. I really like it.
Thank you. I always try and have like an underlying theme that the listener can relate to and apply to their own lives, but also I try and do it in such a way that it's kind of veiled in this epic storytelling aspect, so that if someone doesn't want to dive deeper into the lyrics, or doesn't really care about that, they just want a fun song to listen to, that can also be the case. So it's kind of about not being too literal with the lyrics, and which was quite difficult on this album, actually, because it's like there's only so many ways you could say computer. It's something that I strive to do so that the listener can just kind of go with it, or choose to dig a little bit deeper into the themes and everything like that. So it's really important to me that I'm not just like singing about like daily life, but not, exactly, just kind of in a more abstract way. So that's something that I strive to do with every album.
Yeah, I can imagine. How is it for you personally, if I may ask? How do you, or where do you see yourself in the spectrum of being the faker on social media, to put it that way, or being completely transparent? Obviously, we all have privacy and private spheres. Where would you position yourself? How much do you share with your fans and friends?
I'm not like huge on social media. I'm not the kind of person that like posts every moment on there, for sure. I am a pretty private person at the end of the day, and pretty introverted actually. But I feel that it's important that you put yourself out there, and that you are, as true to yourself as you can be when you do post. So yes, we have, music videos where we are dressed in like our leather jackets, and we pretend to be like the metal people that we are. But we also love to be ourselves, in our music videos and in our social media posts, and we stream on Twitch as well, because we just want people to see that we're human beings just like them, and that we're not, this idea of a rock star. I mean, and I'm not saying that we're rock stars or anything, or that we're even remotely famous in any way, shape, or form. But there was this time when rock stars were like these enigmas that we never saw in person, or didn't know who they were, or didn't know what was going on with their family life, or any of this sort of stuff. And it was all very hidden and secretive and mysterious. And so it allowed you to kind of create your own stories around these people that you idolized. And that's just not really kind of the case anymore. And I don't think that should be the case at all, because it's dehumanizing. And a lot of times you see sort of negativity come out of that side of things, when people think that this person that writes the music that they love owes them something, or is something that they're not, because it's like they put them up on this pedestal. And it's like, no, they're just a human that goes to the grocery store and eats food, and you know what I mean, and has movie nights on the couch, or a human being just like you. And I think that's really important, that you don't try and be something other than what you are. And so we're always just as real as we can be, and we don't hold back when we're on the internet. And yes, it's true, I don't post everything, but I also am not going to put a filter on and be something that I'm not when I do post. So I would never be the kind of person that would like show off either. Like if all of a sudden we were super famous and we had lots of money and I bought like a McLaren or something, like I'm not the kind of person that would like take a picture in front of my McLaren and post it on Instagram. I just would never do that. because that's what a lot of the album is about, is that sometimes when you see these people that you look up to, these influencers, posting a photo from an insane villa in Italy or whatever, and yeah, it's like, okay, you don't live there though, you Airbnb'd it for the weekend and made it look like, this is your third home or something. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, that's kind of stuff that I just disagree with, because we have young people that are watching us. And if we pretend to be something that we're not, and pretend that success is something so physical like that, that when they get to a point where they should be proud of themselves, they won't see it. They won't recognize it, because it's not a freaking $1,000,000,000 mansion, you know what I mean? Or a McLaren in the driveway, or a summer home in the Italian countryside. And that's just not what success is, and that's not what people should strive for, and it's not the expectations that they should have of themselves. So I just really feel like just kind of wrote this album to say to people, it doesn't matter what's happening with everyone else out there on the internet. You got to focus on you, and you gotta depend on yourself and love yourself for who you are, despite what anyone else may say.
Yes.
And that's just kind of been a really important part of this whole album.
That's amazing. And I agree so much with you. I think it is exactly what you said. It's very important to define success for yourself, success and happiness, which is the two things that we all strive for in life, and get away and move away and have a very critical and open vision of what is actually being not really forced on us, but it is very specific standards are very imposed. And then we have all of these people on social media who at the end of the day want to sell you something. They want to sell you either their coaching services to make your life better and to make you lose weight, or to make you much more productive. And, I've been saying this for a while, but all those people that wake up at 4 a.m. because then they finally have a minute of peace to read emails. And it's like, what? If that's your concept of optimization and productivity, and that's how you're happy, I don't know. I'm very critical of that kind of pressure that you then, as you were saying too, you put on yourself, and that's where burnout comes in. And and then also comparing yourself to all these people out there who you see everywhere can be very, very dangerous for the psyche.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I see all that stuff where it's like, I wake up at 6 a.m. every day because it makes me super productive. And it's like, okay, but what time did you go to bed? Did you go to bed at 8 p.m.? Like, what does it matter that I go to bed at midnight and I'm up at 9? There's no difference. I am not a morning person, and I'm okay with that. And I will never be a morning person. So I am not going to feel bad that I don't wake up at 6 a.m. just because you are a morning person. I have friends that, like, their eyes are open at 6 a.m. and it's like, okay, ready to, and they hate it because it's just how they're wired, right? Yeah. It's not something that you should shove at someone as like, this is the ideal human. The ideal human wakes up at 6 a.m. It's like, no, that's just how you are. And I find that a lot of times on social media is that these people are like, well, this is how I do it, so that's how it's got to be done. And it's like, no, you're forgetting that you have a personal opinion here and extreme bias. Yeah. So don't sell me your life schedule because that's what's working for you. You know what I mean? And it's just really frustrating. And yeah, like you said, they're all selling you something. Like, because I have a kid now, I'm constantly seeing like all these like how to deal with toddler this or toddler won't eat, or like, you know what I mean? Like these videos just get served to you. And at first it's like, oh, wow, what a cool little tidbit of information. Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a nice little tip. And then at the end, it's like, if you want to know how to blah, blah, blah in my course. And it's just like, oh, right. Okay. So now all of a sudden I realize that this was totally insincere. And I just, you know what I mean? And I can't trust it at all. So, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. You got to always be aware of the agendas of the people on the other side because they've all got one. For sure, 100%.
I love that you're bringing this like realness back to social media. So I don't think enough people are doing it. So I'm happy that you're doing it. And I mean, like being an artist, you do have responsibility, in my opinion. So if you have many fans or followers, like people look up to you, and I don't know, sometimes they take inspiration from that. And so I think it's really cool that you're just trying to be a real human with flaws and everything. So I think it's a really good approach.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important because it's not like I went into this to be that, but I do have, people that message me and say, thank you so much for being a woman in metal that I can, show to my daughter, to show that, see, you don't have to be like perfection all the time and like super fit and like, 50,000 pounds of makeup to be a singer in a metal band, because I just want to help young women everywhere really find the self-confidence to not care about what other people think. And that's not really something that you find on social media. So it's frustrating too. And I mean, I'm just kind of like not a fan of the internet at all right now. I'm just like I'm such a grump. I really am kind of like negative about it. And I try not to be, because it's like, this is an amazing space where you can be with people that otherwise you wouldn't be able to spend your time with. And you can connect with people on a whole other level that you would never be able to, before. So it just kind of sucks that it's also turned into this place where it's almost like a faceless platform in a lot of ways. And it allows people to be like the worst as well. So you have this like fakeness where everyone's just pretending to be like these super rich, super successful, amazing, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And then you have the other side where people have zero responsibility for the words that they put out there. And they're just, trolling like super hard or being really negative. And I absolutely hate that, because I don't understand why would you want to be that person that brings someone else down?
Yeah.
It's already out there enough as it is. So why can't we try and be the positive place for people? Mm-hmm. Why can't we try and be the ones that say, oh, that sucks, you go get them, you're going to get them next time. You know what I mean? Instead of saying like, well, you're a loser, or like, we shouldn't have done that, or like, way to go, dumbass, that kind of thing. It's just like, why be that snide little just flippant remark that you have no idea if that could absolutely destroy that person's day?
Yeah.
Why be that person? Why sit in such a negative space? It's up to you to be positive. If you're unhappy or just constantly in a bad mood at the end of the day, it's not about what's going on around you. You got to look at who was I today, mm-hmm. kind of a thing. And did you post a shitty remark on someone's YouTube video? Like, maybe you perpetuated that negative space for yourself all day long, mm-hmm. and you have to bring yourself out of it. You have to try to be in a positive space and try and be that for other people as well. And it's just the internet, it just really feels like it's struggling a lot with that lately.
Yeah, I imagine that. Do you sometimes feel pressure that, like, if you're in a role model position, that you have to be like extra good or something like that?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. There are times when I wish that I could be more outspoken on a subject. And it's kind of like, no, if I say that, half of our fans are going to be like, yes, and the other half are going to be like, oh, I'm never listening to you again. It does kind of suck in that sense that I kind of have to be Switzerland in a lot of things. But I'm also not the kind of person that is super into just kind of posting my opinion out there in the world for everyone else to rip apart anyways. So, mm-hmm. I mean, it's okay. That's fine. And I'm also not the kind of person that wants to get into that with people, mm-hmm. Like especially with things that are going on right now. There are very divisive conflicts that are happening. And I know that if I were to say a single thing in favor, against, in the middle, whatever, that I would get absolutely torn apart. So it's just like, I'm just not gonna do that, because first of all, I don't want to have to explain myself or to be kind of having that conversation back and forth with someone, and it's like, I'm never going to change your mind, so like, why are we doing this kind of a thing? Yeah. And also, I just don't have the time to be like constantly up on everything that's going on Twitter right now, or sorry, X right now. So unfortunately, maybe if I had a little bit more time on my hands, I might be a little bit more involved, but there's just so much going on right now.
Yeah, I quit X. I'm not doing that
anymore. Right. I know a lot of people that have as well. It's not a great place right now.
Yeah, and that is absolutely where you have to prioritize. And also sometimes it's the damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, right? I've seen a lot of people get attacked on social media right now for not taking a side, kind of. So it can be just, I don't know, just very difficult to exist on the internet to a certain degree. But we've mentioned a lot of great points that bring us back to the main topic at hand, which is the album Fantoma, and also the fact that you focused it around this artificial intelligence and that you used it as well. But first of all, now that we were mentioning about all of these standards of perfection and such, I was very happy to see Fantoma, the main character, in the video for Green and Glass, to see her, right? It's a female character. To see her not have a over-sexualized body. Because it was still a very, very human female body made out of technology. You can see that. But it's not the typical anime character with big breasts and tiny waist, and that was not it. And that was a very good first impression from that video for me.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's kind of been who I've always been as a vocalist. You know, I started playing shows in high tops and band shirts, you know, and jeans. And we play shows when, and I've just never been the kind of person that wants to, and there's nothing wrong with doing this, but I've never been the kind of person that wants to use my body as a selling tool. People will want to come to our shows, you know, if I'm half naked. Like, I am not on board with that. But that's what it's all about, having the freedom to do that. That being a choice. If you want to, you know, be the one that wears like the skimpy outfits on stage, then absolutely go for it. Yes. All the power to you. It's your choice as a woman to do with your body what you will. It's just me, just personally, I just wanted it to be about my voice. And so I was constantly putting this pressure on myself to, you know, to be a better singer. You know, just do cool things, do new things, extend your range, be more powerful, stand out, you know, for something. And it was just kind of this different pressure, you know, that you put on yourself. It was like, well, if I'm not going to be like this super amazing hot front woman, you know, I better be something worth following. So that's just like a whole other side of the coin. But the music video, that's me. I am Fantoma. I am playing the part of, like, I did all the acting behind it, and it's all done on a green screen. And it was just kind of like, yeah, you just painted over me with the art that we licensed. And that was the AI side of things. So you train this model on the artwork, and then it takes the footage that you've already filmed, and it just kind of paints it with this brush, this style of work. So, you know, it's always important to us that we're in our videos, and that we get to be the characters, even though we're not great at acting. It's a lot of fun, and that's just kind of who we've always been. It's important to us that people that watch our videos can see us as the musicians, but then also us as the actors, and then us as the goofballs that are kind of just playing around in our music videos. So when we saw that there was this program that was AI that could do this, we were just like, oh man, that's so cool, because then it can turn us into these androids that we otherwise wouldn't be able to accomplish with like regular cinematography. Yeah, and it was kind of like, you know, do you want me to change the way that you look or whatever? Do you want me to cinch in your waist? And I was just like, no, man, like, just it is what it is, and let us be us in this video, just painted. So yeah, I think that's really important, that people see that it doesn't matter what you are physically. It's how hard you work and what you put into it, and how sincere you are in your work is the most important thing. Yes. If people see that you're just there because you want to be famous and make money, you know, they'll be able to tell. They can, you know, it comes through. Absolutely. So I think it's super important that you just, be who you are. And it's too much work to try anything else. True. You got to keep that facade up forever. Yeah.
Can you walk us a little bit more through the process from the very beginning? Because that was just about the video. I want to talk about that video a little bit in more detail later, but did you have artificial intelligence involved with the lyrics, with the music, with the concept in the beginning already, or not so much?
Yeah, well, AI as it is now, like with ChatGPT and Midjourney and all that sort of stuff, it wasn't around in early 2021 when we were writing the record. So not even a single moment of it was AI for us. It was all about like the science fiction side of AI to me. Blade Runner and androids and like Terminator and Star Trek and Star Wars.
Are you a big fan of sci-fi?
Oh yeah, definitely. Total nerd over here. I like reading science fiction. I love, sci-fi comic books. Like my shelf is just full of Saga and Black Science and Tokyo Ghost and then movies as well and video games. Like just love science fiction video games. And of course I love the fantasy side of things as well. Like I'm just kind of a lover of both. I've also got Game of Thrones and all that stuff on the shelf as well. So, but I just wanted this album to be like straight up science fiction because Apex and Abyss had played around with both genres and we hadn't really done like a straight up science fiction record. So that's why I was like, let's do AI, like gaining sentience and this android kind of being more human than a human and just kind of playing around with that idea. So yeah, no AI in any of that side of things. But then when we were in the studio, I always write the lyrics like at the very end. It's the last thing that happens. Because in case something gets cut in the studio or, like a part that I write is like a super important part of telling the story. And then all of a sudden it gets the chop. It's like, oh my God, like that was so important. So I make sure that I write the lyrics at the very end. And so that was like early 2023 and ChatGPT was kind of like this, the cool thing. It was making all the headlines and stuff. So I was like, why don't we just like throw a prompt into ChatGPT and see if it can write a song for us? So I said, write a song about assassins in the night in the style of Unleash the Archers. And I like pumped out a poem, basically, just kind of like, A, B, A, B, and then like weird little chorus thing, and then A, B, A, B again. It didn't work, of course, because I already had vocal melodies written, and when I'm writing a song, I use Logic, and so I have the finished track, and then I kind of just do like da 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 da, kind of gibberish really when I'm writing the vocal melodies. But a lot of times, like I'll end a phrase knowing that I need this to be like on an ah vowel or an e vowel or whatever, that kind of thing. Just where the note is in my range and what feels most comfortable and what won't be super annoying or that kind of thing. So I have to think about that when I'm writing the lyrics as well. So it's like, no, I can't end this phrase on a high E, like that'll be really nasal and annoying. So I need an ah word or, that kind of thing. So ChatGPT just can't write for the way that I write. But I used it like as a reference. So if I was stuck on a particular part, it's like, okay, so this is the moment where Cora is talking to her and is like, you're hiding, but I know it's you, kind of a thing. Like, so I would be like, hey, is there anything in the ChatGPT result that I could use here? And I just kind of picked words and phrases out and popped it into the existing lyrics that I was working on. It was like a thesaurus, I have thesaurus.com open in my tabs the whole time I'm writing lyrics, and so I just used it like that, and then put a couple words and phrases into Ghosts in the Mist, and then was just kind of like, okay, yeah, that was super fun. All right, let's move on. We just wanted to say that we used AI to write a song about AI. We thought that was a lot of fun. We're just kind of playing around with it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that insight into your whole songwriting process. I'm learning a lot.
Every time someone says to me like, well, how do I write lyrics for a song? And it's like, don't think about it. Like, have an idea, but don't ever write the lyrics first, because then you get attached to things. And then all of a sudden you're trying to say this like super crazy word over a phrase that doesn't fit. And a lot of times when I'm listening to bands, I can tell it's like, oh, they wrote that phrase before the song, because it just is like, trying to squish something in here, and so it's like, never ever get attached to lyrics before the song is written, because you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed at the end of the day. So
to be heartbroken. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Another thing that was really beautiful too was to go back to the video then. We were just talking as well about the humanity of this sentient robot. kind of. And that shows a lot in the video. I didn't fully understand what was happening in it, but I did get this idea of she's going into this place where she doesn't really belong and kind of asking for help and gets turned down. And that actually, I could feel it. It was really hard. And so great, great acting for sure.
Oh, thank you.
But weren't you also in the council, in this like council as well? Yeah, yes. Right. Okay. Yeah. And then I did recognize, okay, these are for sure the band members as well, and making the appearance. So it was really interesting. But the thing that I think called a lot of attention, and mine included, was the start, the very first few seconds of the video where you wrote this statement about how you actually licensed the imagery that was going to be used. And for me, it was this sort of, okay, we don't want any sort of misunderstanding. We are making things clear from the beginning. And maybe also to try to avoid some critique from, because there is this whole debate, ethical and moral debate about the use of AI in art. And some of the things that we were talking about come into play as well. We do want to optimize our workflows. We don't necessarily want to get up at 4 or 6 a.m. to do that, but we do want to do less of the exhausting work and more of the creative work. And I have this meme so present in my head of what I wanted was the robots to do my dishes and I don't know, the laundry, and so that I could paint and write music. But actually that's what the AI is doing now. And I get to still do all of this physical labor kind of, that's annoying. And it's so true. So there are, of course, helpful uses or practical uses of AI that don't replace your creativity. But there is still this fear of, okay, the robots are coming for us and they are coming for the artists first. Because of all the debate of our especially visual artists and illustrators, are they actually being compensated for all of their work that is being used to train these AIs? You were kind of sending the message first before anyone sees any of the video. This message was there of, we tried to make this right. Was that your intention?
Yeah, absolutely. From the very beginning, we were always very transparent about our use of AI because it's not something that we were ashamed of. It was like a creative choice. We're writing this album about AI, so let's use AI where we can in aspects of it that don't make it, no longer our work. And so we put that blurb, I guess you could call it, at the beginning because we wanted to say, first of all, yes, this video is AI. We're not trying to hide anything from you. But the artwork that is used to create this sort of style was licensed and the artist was compensated. And we wanted that to kind of try and maybe set the bar for other artists that were going to do something like this. And since then, we have seen other artists do animated videos that are, based solely on the catalog or back catalog or work of this artist, that kind of thing. But, we've also seen that some that are not. So I don't know if we've made a dent in things or not. I mean, it's impossible to tell. But we just wanted the art community to understand that we understand and that we will still continue to support artists because, art and metal bands, they go hand in hand. They are, can't have one without the other. It's always been a huge part of the sort of the community to have really cool artwork to go with your albums. We were just kind of saying our album art is Dusty Peterson. It's an original commissioned piece. That's not going to change. But we are using AI in an album about AI because it's there and we're just kind of trying something new. And some people were like, oh, okay, cool. And some people were not cool. And that's fine. Everyone can have their own opinions about that sort of stuff. And we absolutely get it because it is new and it's changing the world. And yeah, that meme is a really great example because that's exactly what I was writing about in Phantoma. It's like AI does everything. So the humans in the biomes, that's all they do all day is they write music and they perform plays for each other and they make and eat delicious food for one another. And it's all about this freedom to be creative, to do, what humans do best, to paint still life, whatever. And to have that freedom because, robots do the dishes. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That was the AI that I was thinking of. It's so funny that the main AI that's out there, aside from, like adaptive text on your phone and that kind of stuff, yeah, is creating imagery, creating videos, mm-hmm, creating music now. I mean, there's programs out there that's doing AI songs and written work. So it's kind of like, why is that the big ones right now? Like, why aren't we talking about, the robots that everyone's working on that's going to take the dangerous work out of cave exploring, mm-hmm, or, you know what, yeah, I mean? Like, where's all that? Why don't we have someone that can just kind of keep my house clean for me without thinking about, yeah, it? It just seems, I think it's just because it's physical hardware versus software. Yeah. So software is kind of where everyone's focusing right now versus, the moving parts of AI, which are probably going to be here soon, but just it's taking a long time. So I am definitely the kind of person that sees the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be really hard and weird, and the change is going to be awkward, and it's going to be a really bumpy road for a while. But I hope that at the end we're going to have this like utopian Star Trek kind of world where we have the time and the freedom to explore science and to find cures for everything, mm-hmm, because we have the time and the infinite resources to do, mm-hmm, so, and figure, solve world hunger and, explore the stars and just kind of do all these things that humankind has always dreamed about.
I love it. I love that kind of optimism. And on that note, I just want to say, maybe there will be someone who's listening that can actually do the thing, because it's 2024 and teleportation has still not been invented. I am very disappointed in the world.
Yeah.
I need that
too.
now.
Oh my goodness. I was totally just thinking about that. And I was like, okay, maybe not teleportation, because like how terrifying would that be to know that your cells are being disassembled and then put back together again on the other side. But like the technology from Hyperion, where they basically like create a wormhole in space where they like close it and it's like a portal where you can move between, mm-hmm, by folding space-time together, I'm on board with that. I'd be cool with like portal technology, because then I get to at least remain me and physically walk through like this gap. So, but yeah, I mean, sure, put me in a transporter, beam me up. I'm so ready for that. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. You addressed so many good points about the whole debate, and before I want to kind of summarize it a little bit and go on with something that Marta and I were talking about before. You mentioned there were people that didn't really like your statement in the beginning of the video, or the video in general. Did, mm-hmm, anyone who had a negative comment about it, did anyone have like an interesting point, an argument? Something that you could understand the logic behind, or was it just nonsensical hate?
No, absolutely. There was definitely both. And, and we learned quite a bit about the whole process after we released the video, because there was both sides. There was those that were like, okay, yes, you paid an artist, but the program that you used has a base feature that just takes from whatever and fills in the gaps. So even though you trained this AI model on this one artist, it's still using artwork that you didn't train it with, because that's just how the program works. And so we were kind of like, oh, well, shit, and we absolutely, okay, we totally understand. And that makes me think like, really, like, come on, how hard would it have been to just like do like an open call for submissions and be like, we'll pay you on a scale of whatever for depending on how big your catalog is and how detailed it is and what kind of style it is or whatever, what we're looking for. Like, really, you could have just done that, as opposed to, but then also the other side of it is everything that we put on the internet is no longer ours. Like, have you ever read the terms and conditions of Facebook?
True.
Like, everything you post, they own. So we are giving our work away just by posting it on there. You know, so anyone can take our music videos, our music, my lyrics, all of it, and it's all in there. So, I mean, right there, it's just kind of blissful ignorance that we think that anything that we've created is safe. Like, artwork gets stolen every day, all the time, regardless. It doesn't even matter. How many bunk t-shirts have we found on whatever that Red site is? Or like everywhere, constantly. I have people on our Discord sending me like, Brittney, got another fake merch site for you, and like they're you can just see that the quality is absolute trash, and you just feel bad for anyone that's buying this, thinking that it's, you know, that it's something, you know, that they're supporting their favorite band, and because they're totally not. And you know, like I just feel bad, and you know, we try and stop it where we can, but you can't stop it. It's endless.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we also had people that were commenting just because they just hate AI. They had zero logical argument behind it at all. It was just, oh, AI, never listening to you guys again. And it's like, okay, yeah, but if you really just hate AI that much, like, why are you on the internet? This video got served to you because an AI algorithm knows that you like heavy metal and showed you this video.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's already in everything, everywhere, all the stuff that we do.
Exactly.
Why would you choose to not support an artist because they were just transparent about the use? You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. To wrap up the topic a little bit, I want to remind our listeners, and also as a funny anecdote, last year at Tuska Festival in Helsinki, we had a forum, the first Tuska forum organized in cooperation with Bleeding Metal, and the very first session was an AI panel with 4 members of 2 different newcomer bands, and we actually tried to make a song with AI and everything with it. We got a lyric generator that was not ChatGPT. We got an image generator to make us a nice artwork. With the music, we didn't come too far along, but it was just the idea of getting acquainted with this. What are the uses? What can you actually do? And one of the panelists actually said that he wasn't using artificial intelligence for his band just yet, but he works in marketing and was aware of the potential that ChatGPT has there, and also of how it can even plan you the route of your next tour and that types of things.
Right.
And so that was where our conversation, fortunately, also ended. These are just tools, and the responsibility of how we use them in the end is still ours. It's still the human behind it.
Absolutely.
And so I do think that there are very good uses for it in the music industry and in art itself, not only with these practical kind of things to create your captions, make your short videos. Hell, I work with AI to edit this podcast. And all of that type of thing. They can help you with writer's block if you can't get your lyrics flowing. They can help you sketch out the ideas for the artwork before an artist actually does them. Martha was just telling me about that. Do you want to tell us your story, Martha?
Yeah. So the artist who does our artworks for our singles and EPs and everything, like before AI, he worked with stock footage, and then he had to like montage everything just to communicate the idea to the client. And now he's using AI, and it's a lot more precise, and it's just helping a lot. So in the end, AI doesn't create the artwork, but it helps communicating it a lot. And we love it because we know what we're getting. Everything's faster, and the product in the end is much more what we envision. So it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It saves you misunderstandings and also some time. And then you actually get an organic made, that's what I call it now, organic and artificial, organic made, human made kind of, full quality artwork.
That's great as well. because that saves the artist time working on a piece that then they send like, okay, here's my initial sketches, and it's like, no, and then it's just like, oh, okay, back to the drawing board. That took me 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So in the end, in theory, that could also save you some money if they need a lot less time.
Yeah, and also nerves. So I think every visual artist knows this, because clients seem to never know what they actually want, and then they see something and they're like, "Oh, that was not what I wanted, but that was exactly what you said you want." Yeah, I don't anymore. I don't know. So it's really saving nerves, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's another tool, and you can choose to work it into your wheelhouse or not. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I think that idea of making it so that it's, here's the idea, and then doing it yourself, that's great. And it also makes it so that you can do more. You can take on more
projects,
more work, because it's, it's kind of squishing down on the time that you have to spend on each piece. So, I mean, yeah, I think there's definitely positive and negative aspects to the artificial side of it.
And on that note, I have a question of our other co-host, Susanna. She wanted me to ask you, talking about the pros and cons of these technologies, as every technology, what would be the best case scenario for artificial intelligence in music? And that would be the worst that you can imagine.
Well, I mean, the worst is easy. The worst would be that someone puts out, an Unleash the Archers clone and they do better than we do. That would suck. Immediately 500,000 listeners on Spotify or something. Like, oh, man. But then the best, I mean, I think that I just don't have the imagination to think of the possibilities that someone could come up with. But I'm kind of the frame of mind that more music in the world is better. So if there are people out there that had music, in them, but they just never learned how to play an instrument and didn't know how to write music or whatever, you know what I mean? That now they have this access to a way to do that. I think that's fantastic, because I know we have so many fans that are so passionate about music, and they contribute in ways that they can, by supporting their favorite artists, or by having, reaction channels, or by doing reviews, or working for publications to do articles on, stuff like that. But if they were given an avenue to create their own music, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be a gatekeeper for music. Yeah. It belongs to everyone.
Sure.
So if someone wants to start a band in their garage that's inspired by Unleash the Archers, go for it. If someone wants to write music on a computer with, the aid of AI that sounds like Unleash the Archers, is influenced by Unleash the Archers, go for it. I think that's great.
Oh my gosh, and I'm so sad now that our time is running out, because that just sparks so much in my brain. I think that is how the makers of these tools are trying to market them, as a democratization of creativity. And I don't think it's that easy, because it's already, you need as a basis access to a computer, and that is not the reality of the whole world. There are privileges that we have to be more aware of before we say, okay, this is the solution to make everybody an artist. It's just not that easy, sadly.
Yeah, I could go on and on about that in all things.
That's a topic for another session.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I think it's hard to come at it from that other direction sometimes when you're doing the thing, when you're coding the program and just being like, oh man, this is going to be so amazing for everyone. Mm-hmm. You don't think about the other side of it a lot of times. A lot of times these software developers can only see it one way, and it's up to the world to help them see it in a bit more of a 360 degree. We can't just constantly take everything as it is and be like, oh yay, cool AI, let's go there. It's definitely ask questions and be critical. But also, we can't just stick our heads in the sand, I think is kind of where I was going.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brittney, so much for being here, for giving us your time. Thank you, Martha, for being here as well and co-hosting today's episode. Thank you everyone out there for listening, and we will link the things that we've mentioned, and of course the link to stream Fantoma and watch the videos in the show notes in the episode description. And yes, subscribe now to the Bleeding Metal podcast on iTunes, follow us on Spotify and Instagram or wherever you're listening to this, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.